Hello, this is my my little how-to which I'm recording to embed in the blog, and I just want to demonstrate a couple of the bits and pieces of Photoshop, maybe give you a better understanding of how it works and how I do what I do when I'm making some of my digital art pieces. So Photoshop is open. Here we have the tools palette, and here we have our layers palette. Layers are very important on Photoshop. If you can imagine, you kind of build up an image in layers. Imagine you draw one part of an image on an acetate and put another acetate over the top and draw over the top of that, and so on, and you build up the image in various layers. But you'll see how that works in a few moments. What we're going to do first is open up a new document. By default it seems to be set to what we want, 800 by 600 pixels, 72 dpi, which as we all know is perfectly adequate for screen, rubbish for print. So there we go, I have a new 800 by 600 document with a white background. Now what I'm going to do is a Starfield very quickly. It's a very basic demonstration, and stars are in space, and as we know space is black. So I have my background selected and it's white at the moment, so I'm going to press on the keyboard Control and I to invert it. Right, next thing we want to do is create a new layer. I'm going to put in a layer of noise in there. You'll see what I mean by that in a moment, sort of like static on an untuned TV channel. So what I want to do is fill the layer with whatever colour, and we'll stick with black. And to do that, we have black selected as the foreground. Press Alt and Backspace on the keyboard, and you can see up here my layer has changed to black. Now to add the noise, we're going to use the built-in filter in Photoshop. So filter, noise, add noise. Now you can see it's sort of giving us a little preview there. Gaussian noise, about 25% is probably enough. Make it 25 on the button. Monochromatic, click OK, there it is. Now what we want to do is take just maybe a fraction of all those little white dots that are making up the noise, and they're going to make up our stars. So to do that, we change this layers, we'll call the layer stars. Okay, so we're going to change the layers blend mode to dissolve. That means that when I start to fade it out, rather than just fading out the whole thing, it'll gradually dissolve little bits and pieces of it, pixel by pixel. So what we do, we've got that set to dissolve, and we now turn the opacity right down. Now we're going to turn it right the way down, all the way to 1%. Okay, in fact maybe 2%. 2% is kind of nice. Okay, now there you go, that's looking fantastic already, but still not ideal. So we're going to take the fill and we're going to turn that all the way down as well, maybe down to 35%, maybe 40. See how that looks? Yeah, 40 is good. 40 is good. What we're going to do is add in a couple of little twinkles, again on their own layer. So I click the new layer button down here, select my brush tool. I can either click on the tool here on the toolbar, or I can press B on the keyboard. So brushes, what I've got here is the assorted brushes, and I think this one here will be right. Now what we're going to do is on this new layer that we've created, let's call it Twinkle. We want just some of the stars to look like they are shining. Now we've got your foreground colour and your background colour. Now pressing X on the keyboard flips those two around. Okay, so we want the twinkles to be white. Let's zoom in a little bit. So B on the keyboard to select the brush again, and just turn the opacity of these twinkles up a little bit. Maybe a little bit brighter. Let's go about 3/4, 75% brightness. Okay, so try and get it right over the top of one of those bigger stars, and click, click again, we got a twinkle. Let's do one down here, one of the bigger stars, there we go, click and click again, and we got another twinkle. Let's put one, well now let's put it down here, let's stick it there. Okay, so we've got our stars, we've got our twinkles, and still looking a bit empty, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a big star as if we're really close up to a star when we're taking this photograph. So what we have is a new layer, and we're going to fill it up with black, so that was Alt and backspace with the foreground layer set to black, and we're going to go into Filter, Render, Lens Flare. Now what we want is 100% brightness, as we have here, and 105mm prime. See, the other ones don't really look all that good as stars. So we'll just select that and click OK. Now obviously that is blotting out all the other little stars which are in the background, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is add something called a layer mask. So we click on the layer mask icon down here, and you'll see up here that adds another little icon on our layers palette. The way that a layer mask works is if you paint onto it in black, then it will start to reveal whatever's underneath without deleting from the original information. I'll demonstrate. In order to get all the stars coming out and to get rid of this horrible sort of flare coming from the sort of central brightness, we're going to select our gradient tool and select the radial gradient and select foreground to transparent, and then on my layer mask I'm going to click and drag out in the direction of the flare. So there we go. Now you can see that has made the whole thing disappear, but that's okay. We're just trying to get a feel for how much of this is going to disappear when we invert it. So we can see that the stuff that we can see just now, when I invert it, is the stuff that's going to disappear. So Control I, there we go. We can still see a little bit of it, so what we do is we change the blend mode of the original layer to screen, and there we are. We have a star and some twinkles, and that's us.